welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for joining. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming event, Inspire Influence Live in Sydney. I feel like everybody here should know me already by now, but if not, I'll do a quick intro. I always like to start with my origin story. So I'm Bangladeshi Swiss, born in Bangkok. So the first 20 years of my life was in Asia, then the second 20 years was in Europe. So growing up in a multicultural environment meant hospitality was always going to be the place that I belonged. I worked in hotel operations, revenue, and then I worked at STR for 12 years doing everything from analyst, branding, marketing, product development, loads of things, always with a global role. So I was very lucky to travel around to many different parts of the world and work with stakeholders from all parts of the industry. And that was when I started noticing that whilst we have a lot of incredible women in our industry, we don't have the same level of either representation or visibility in the industry. So in 2020, as a COVID passion project, I launched the podcast, Inspiring Women in Hospitality. And then when I left my corporate career behind to follow, I guess, my passion plus my midlife crisis, then I really fully ventured into this full-time, which has now become not only a podcast, a membership, running different events, networking, to now we're on this next journey where we're running different workshops, really focused on equipping women with the skills that we need to. We want to make sure that we get more women into rooms where financial decisions are being made. Everything from the boardroom to empowering us individually for our salary negotiations or anything that requires us to make some decisions of a financial kind. So I'm not doing this by myself. This is definitely a joint effort because I have come to realize that no matter where I go in the world, we need different people, different engagement, and also to understand what is required for every single city or every single destination that I'm going to, because it is a little bit different depending on where we are in not only the hospitality journey, but also in the journey when it comes to gender balance. So without further ado, I'd like to now invite the advisory board members who did help me for Sydney, and I'm going to pin their screens. And while I'm doing that, I just wanted to share that, honestly, I'm so humbled and grateful by each and every one of them who said yes. I remember actually from this group, I think Lucia was the only person I had met in person before I ever came to Sydney for the first time back in, I want to say February 2023. And that was before even the whole idea of Inspiring Women came to be. Marit and I knew each other from my STR days, so we'd had some connection from before. Emma, you and I connected really at the beginning of my journey of Inspiring Women. And, I hadn't even formulated what it was going to be, but you were just so open to having a conversation and connect with me. So I was really grateful. And then when I finally did make it to Sydney, I invited you all for the first roundtable, and you all just said yes without even knowing me. Emma and Shai, I hadn't even known you for like a week before we put the roundtable together. So what I would like to ask each of you is, why did you say yes to me? And Emma, let's start with you.
Emma
Fraser, sorry. I do need to get this right. I should have chosen my board a little bit more selectively, perhaps.
Sure, I will go first. Happy to. Well, firstly, thank you. It was a privilege to be asked to help shape this program. Why did I say yes? Firstly, you're a woman on a mission, Naureen, and I love that energy about you. So thank you for that. And also you're driven by purpose. So you have this idea in mind and you're walking the talk as such. But I think it's more because you want to elevate women. You want to grow this influence that aligns with everything that I do. So obviously I do mentoring for others as well in hospitality, and being a hotelier at heart, I think it's nice to have that vision where you're building a movement. And what really stood out to me to say yes one, because I like you, but also because I think you're looking for opportunities to shift those mindsets, open doors and opportunities for people, and just create that space where women primarily, but can step into that space confidently. And I think when someone like yourself, Naureen, leads with that passion and that integrity, then for me, the only answer was yes. So that would be my reasoning.
Thank you, Emma. And Shai, why did you say yes?
Okay, I can kind of say we've known each other for quite a while now.
Yeah.
I think what stood out for me was actually your passion. You came up with the idea and the notion from nothing. You'd seen and experienced different parts of the world where there's opportunity, where there's no opportunity. And I think you were very open-minded about taking this on and making it your own, which very few people are actually really willing to do. A lot of people talk, but don't actually do. So it was really lovely to be asked to be part of that. I respect you tremendously, and I've been listening to your podcast as well and seeing how you get people to just share all sorts of information with you that they wouldn't with other people. And it just shows what an authentic person you are. And I like authenticity. I believe I live authenticity every day. So for me, it was important to connect with a like-minded person. So thank you for having me. I'm very excited about this opportunity.
Thank you for saying yes. Lucia, when we first got together, one of the questions I had posed to the advisory board was, what do we think is still missing in terms of, reaching our goal or our mission of gender balance? What are some of the skill sets that we think that are still required for women to be able to be successful in their careers? And we had a very, that was really the first discussion that we had back in July. Lucia, can you share what was it that you identified was missing?
I wish to remember. A very good question. I feel like I got the tricky one. I was just crafting an answer. Why did I say yes to you? But
well,
let me just
can build on that.
Let me just go back to July, which feels like 5 centuries ago. I'll start with a yes, and I'll get to your answer. I think about it. But I'll just take a step back. So I have been very fortunate throughout my career in life to be surrounded quite a few influential mentors who really helped me tremendously. And I believe in giving back in some kind of reverse format. And the opportunity which you are providing to the women and women in the industry is something which kind of resonated with me. So probably that's the underlying reason why I said yes. As being underrepresented, I do see it quite regularly where the meetings I tend to attend aren't fully represented with the 50-50 gender diversity. But I do see a hope in that returning. I look around these days and there is lots of younger up and coming females. So it's just not doom and gloom. I remember I was in a meeting maybe 17 years ago, and it was a TTF, Travel Tourism Forum, and I was the only female under 40 or only female, let's just say, and the only person under 40 around the table, which was a little bit confronting. And look, we'll be changing overnight, probably not, but any step towards a change of the direction will be appreciated and helpful. Did I answer your question, by the way?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. To Marit and Emma Hines, I'll move on to the next set of questions I wanted to ask was around influence, where we've named this event Inspire Influence. And it's really about, I believe that everyone can have influence within their organizations, regardless of what their title is, what their position is. However, what we do need is a opportunity to learn those skill sets and have a space to practice that as well. So Marit, what does influence mean to you in the workplace?
That's a good question. And I think for us women, we are we're always feeling a bit more being from a backbone and not quite as frontal and as strong in driving certain conversations, as Lucia just mentioned, than opposed to men. And I think for women to be influential, they learn better and are guided better by other women. Because we admire other women and then we like to view them and see how they drive to get there. And we listen to them more so, I think, than what we potentially would do for men. And I think that's where, yeah, I really love your passion in driving that forward in women from all ranges of life, and whether they're younger, whether they're older, or whether they've been in the business for a long time, but that's an element that they're missing. That is a passion that you have to really drive them. So I think that's something that I really, feel passionate about with you, and that you, as Shazine earlier said, you don't just say it, you actually take that action. And having two daughters myself, I think it's really important to raise them being strong and being able to negotiate and being influential and come up with the right delivery as such as well. And that's what I've loved from the beginning.
Thank you, Marit. Emma Hines.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Naureen. Thank you for including me. I've just loved having our chats with this group of women. So influence for me, I would say it's probably the ability to have a really positive impact. And in my world, I think all roads are leading to confidence, or the lack of confidence, throughout, whether that's, we know in our industry we've got more females than males working, but as we get to some more senior roles, that drops off. So I loved that we were going to be focusing on being influential, being inspiring, building confidence through this one day that we're doing. Selfishly, I lead almost 40 hotels and resorts and less than 20% female general managers. So selfishly, I'd love to see that change in the future. I echo Lucia's. I think we can start seeing a change coming, and I'm hopeful. But anything that I can do to help push that along a little bit quicker is probably why I said yes as well.
Thank you, Emma. So I think by now everyone's heard the reasons why I chose these 5 fantastic women and why they all said yes, and how they have really been involved in shaping this one-day event that we have put together. So with that said, I am going to move us back to the presentation, where I'm going to show exactly what we're going to be covering over that one day. Who knows, maybe in the future it'll become 2 days, because there's a lot of content to cover, and we did not include as much as I think we would have liked to have had. Okay, so first of all, the date is the 26th of February. It's a Thursday, and it'll be at the Four Points Sheraton. So it's a full day from 9 to 5. And how are we breaking that day up? So we're going to start with a panel discussion welcome on the topic of influence. Then we're going to go into a masterclass and workshop on financial fluency, which I'm going to ask Lucia to say a few words about here in a moment, which includes the presentation to owners and asset managers panel. After lunch, we'll do another panel on the topic of influence, and then I'll be running 2 workshops, one on presenting with confidence, and the second will be networking with authenticity. So for the first topic, I'd like to ask Lucia to come back here and share with us what she's planning to do for the masterclass on financial fluency.
Thanks, Naureen. Everyone who knows me slightly knows that I love numbers, and this numbers just makes me happy in every shape or form. I know it's so sad. But what tends to happen, a lot of female managers, and it's not just the females, it's everyone. They come across when we just maybe narrow it down to any operational level with a very strong operational competency, but the whole financial jargon and the understanding of finance and figures and just being responsible for P&L tends to take the second place or third place, because it's a little bit more confronting. People tend to not spend as much time on the financial piece than any other piece. So from the masterclass perspective, we'll just demystify the terms, just touching base on P&Ls, cash flows, our I love our returns on investments, what are the levers? And once we touch base on the jargons and just get people familiar with the number piece. By the way, people do take 4-year courses to get themselves comfortable with that topic. We then move on some case studies, and the case studies will be split into various categories, but people will choose from their own case study and will work in a teams. And the case study will differ and will be separated into how do we make investment decisions, so making investment decisions, and how do people come to those investment decisions, how to present to owners, boards, investors, and if it's not an investor, it's their asset manager or the direct manager or even a HR manager if it's a case of a salary increase, and how do they assign their IRR to that. We'll build some commercial cases. We'll have a look at what the challenges of their considerations would be, and we'll touch base on how to speak in confidence with the numbers. The confidence piece might come later on, but when we then transition into the judging of the representation of the case studies, we will be looking at how confident do they come across at that first point, and maybe we'll touch base with them at the end of the day to see if they gain more confidence moving forward. But we'll try to make it as exciting as possible. Numbers are exciting, so look, the topic in itself, it's super fun. And I'm not sure how much time we will have on this, but we'll try to build a little bit of a budget, drives, like just really profitability, and really what will resonate is what are the key drivers from owner's perspective. And it's very simple, by the way. So we'll just try to share the special sauce and make people's life easier moving forward.
Thank you, Lucia. And what's really important here is really having that opportunity to practice and present, right? Because it's one thing to sit there in, say, a classroom learning about it or listening to a panel, but what really makes that impact is really then having that opportunity to, so Lucia's going to put together a panel of owners and asset managers so that each group that's going to be assigned to one of these case studies will have the opportunity to actually present it. And the idea is like, we want to focus on the language, the style, using the right wording without worrying so much on the outcome, right? Because normally when we're presenting or we're pitching, we're so focused on like, okay, I need them to say yes, or I need them to make a decision. Whereas here, we're really opening it up to have an opportunity to focus on the actual content or the way that we've delivered that. And then we're tying that up with some additional skill sets that we'll be practicing in the afternoon as well. So confidence really, I mean, as Emma was saying, confidence really only comes by doing, right? It's not something that's going to suddenly just magically appear for each one of us. And so that brings me on to the point on presenting with confidence. So here, this will be after lunch. We'll be talking about some of the nonverbals, the tone, the body language, the posture, and then we'll practice that with some role play exercise in smaller groups of say 2 or 3, and then opportunity to give feedback. And then we'll finish the day with what I'm calling networking with authenticity. So we'll again be back into small groups, and really we'll have guided questions that help to really deepen the connection with the people in the room, but also questions that you can then take away and use at other events, at other networking opportunities that you may come across, to try and do something different than just asking, hey, how are you doing? What do you do? Just to make sure that we're also then memorable and that people will remember us after we have that opportunity to engage. And so who is this for? This is for women across really the entire sector, from hospitality, travel, real estate, corporate, and any role where, say, influence or confidence or communication is going to matter, or perhaps that's an area that you would like to continue to build on your skill sets. Maybe you come into a new role, maybe you've been in a role for a long time, you're trying to make that next step and you're not quite sure. And also by mixing the room up, right? We're going to have people from all across the industry, all different types of organizations, roles, And that really creates that peer-to-peer exchange that we would normally not have at this level. I mean, of course, we're all meeting at events, but here we're really focusing on professional development and on topics that are going to be relevant that we can take back with us to our day-to-day. Now, for the lovely man who's joined us, this is for women only, but this is the first time only, hopefully, and then in the future we can incorporate men into the conversation.
All good.
And you know, but of course, each one of you are representing different organizations. So we really do encourage you to think about sending, say, a group of women from your company to come and be a part of the day. What's going to be important, though, I'm going to mix up the room. So say you've got 5 people from one organization. You're not all going to be on the same table together. I am going to split you up. We're going to have people at different tables. We'll have maybe one set group together in the morning. We'll have another group together in the afternoon. So it really allows for that cross-industry and cross-team and peers exchange. And then finally, I wanted to share with you that I did run this event just about a month ago in London. The content was slightly different. We had the same sort of case studies in the morning, slightly different topics. And in the afternoon, we focused on self-advocacy. So where we're really thinking about what we want, how do we ask for it? But then also with the mindset of like, okay, when we're pitching a business case to the organization, we have to kind of take that same concept when we're pitching ourselves. And these are just some of the things that the women had to say that were with us on the day. You know, everything from getting out of our comfort zone, safe space. This is incredibly important to me, and actually a good reminder that we're not going to have any media present at this event. This is not another conference. This is not another networking event. This is really an opportunity to come together, to learn, to support each other, and to really have that judgment-free zone where you can be truly authentic and vulnerable and ask the questions. It's like it's taking like mentoring to a whole other level, right? You're going to be in the room with amazing women like we have here on the advisory board. We're also putting the panels together. They'll be in the room with us on the day. And then, of course, with each other, let's not forget that, you know, peer-to-peer mentoring is also almost equally important as it is in your traditional mentoring environment, to connect with one another. And just that, honestly, I have to say, I still don't think I've fully recovered from that day that we spent together. Just the feeling, the energy, the impact that we made together on that day was truly, truly uplifting and so empowering. And really, this is the whole mission of what we're doing here today, is really having that mindset where we're going to be lifting each other up. And so that brings us to the end of what I have to share today. So I'm going to open it up to questions. Does anyone have any questions? And since we're a small group, feel free to unmute or put a question in, or if the advisory board wants to add anything that I haven't added, please feel free to do so.